Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gold Diggers, a show where we discuss motivational and inspirational stories in the realm of Philippine sports. I am your host, Carlos Pineda, your resident box-to-box midfielder or point forward, transitioning from esports to football and vice versa. In the previous episode, we focused on introducing the concept and learning more about my fellow gold diggers. Let's welcome all of them. Simone, Robbie, and Relly.
Hi guys, Simone here.
Hey guys, Relly here. Happy to be here again and very excited for this first episode.
Hey everyone, this is Robbie. We're very excited for this inaugural episode and hope you stay tuned.
Yep, it's a pleasure to have all of you here. But you're not the only ones who's going to be involved. I mean, this is our first episode and we have to make an explosive impact so that this could ripple and make a lasting impression in everyone's life. And for this to happen, we've invited someone who could offer his words of wisdom that can even be a northern star guiding us in our daily lives. Prior to this episode, we were given a chance to interact with him. And my God, his backstory, as well as its insights, are worth listening to. From his experience alone as a grown man struggling to make noise in the European football setting. But that sort of struggle that he had to endure, that never stopped him. He kept on going and going. Even if he felt tired, even if he felt the weight of the world, even if he felt so exasperated from his overall experience, that when that opportunity came to go to the Philippines, courtesy of his mother realizing the potential of football in our country, he realized it's time for me to make that bold move. It's time for me to make a mark in the game. His decision to venture into the Philippines was never easy, since this would mean that he has to move out of his comfort zone. He has to say goodbye to his family, say farewell to his country, where he grew up. And of course, there's no guarantee that he's going to succeed because this is an open tryouts that he had to deal with. But nevertheless, he took the chance. He took the risks. And guess what? It paid dividends, garnering successful stints in Kaya, Pachanga, and Ceres Negros. But it's not only in the local football leagues where he established his legacy, as he was even given the opportunity to bring pride to his country by playing for the Azkals. The injuries may have slowed him down, but his spirit remains adamant, as his love and passion for the game extended beyond his playing career by being an advocate of youth development through his involvement in the J8 Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Nate Burkey.
Wow. Thank you all for that introduction. And first off, congrats to all of you guys. It's an honor to be your selected first guest. I feel privileged and thankful to be here. I'm excited for what we have in store for tonight. And again, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep, indeed. The feeling's mutual, Nate. I mean, I'm also excited to have you here in the show. I mean, we've already clearly seen how this pandemic has taken a toll in everyone's sporting careers. Professional leagues have to be temporarily stopped. Academies and grassroots programs have to be halted. So I was wondering, Nate, what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, it's been a tough year for the whole world, as we all can tell and see with our own eyes. Lately, I've been coaching online with the G8 Academy. Thankfully, we've been able to continue our business with training the kids online. It's been an adjustment, but we've all been able to overcome. I've also been supporting my girlfriend with her art career online business. And actually, I've been doing a lot of trivia. So I got a buddy of mine from high school who started his own trivia company during this quarantine. It's called Wade Trivia Throwdown. And just my high school buddies of mine, we would get together weekly and have these trivia games. It was fun. We reminisce, we reunite with our high school friends, and at the same time, it's like current events and good questions. And that's been keeping me busy pretty much. Also raising my son full time. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to here in Manila with the quarantine. Obviously, we can't travel too much, so we're just stationary, trying to make the most of this moment. Yeah, that's pretty much the most of what I've been up to.
All right, so let's talk about one of those most eye opening topics in the local football scene, which is none other than your letter. So, a few weeks ago or a month ago, you posted on social media a letter about your footballing experience. I mean, I'm curious. What spurred you to write about it, or what was your motivation behind it?
Yeah, that's a good question, Carlos. To be honest, there was no, it all came from the heart, obviously, and I didn't have any objectives or goals. I was just kind of reflecting on this period, and I wanted to take the time to thank the four teams that I was able to play with, as well as the national team and all of the staff. And I never did that publicly, so I wanted to take that time to thank them, and also just being out of the game for as long as I've been. I had a couple years to reflect and just kind of not play, not coach, and just kind of observe how Philippine football has been rolling for the past few years, I guess, since I've been out of it. And like I said, I've had some time to reflect, and I just felt, I had all these thoughts and feelings and experiences, and I just wanted to kind of share with the public. And this was basically my reason for the letter. Um, it's an open letter. I just wanted to share my experiences, my thoughts, my feelings on the game itself, and kind of looking back. It's been 10 years, 9 years almost since I first arrived. So I've seen almost a decade go by, and it's a good time to kind of reflect on things, on the current state of football. And that's pretty much my reason for writing that letter. It's only now that it's kind of getting attention to where, all right, now I really got to think about what are my objectives with it. What can I, for example, like tonight, what can I use this platform to speak up on more and enlighten people and hopefully inspire and maybe spark a little bit of change. Um, yeah, like I said, when I wrote it, there was no goal or objectives in the beginning. It was just kind of me opening up my heart. And now, I've been on my second podcast. It's like it's kind of good idea to put those words into maybe some motion or some action, as people may say.
Yeah, I mean, that letter was able to offer a profound sense of awareness about the local football scene. And I do believe one of us here has something to express or to discuss with regards to the letter. So, Simone, I think you have something else to add up. So, the stage is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, Carlos, thank you, thank you. So now let's dig a little deeper into the contents of the letter and get to know where you're coming from, Nate. So just for everyone else's information, Nate posted his open letter to Philippine Football on his Facebook account last August 19. So if you'd like to read the whole thing, you can find the link on the description below. So it's a pretty long letter. I actually pasted it in a letter-sized Word document, and it was 4 pages long, single-spaced. But I'm not surprised that a lot of people, particularly from the football community, took the time to read it and talk about it. I mean, I myself, I read it in one sitting because I found a lot of what he mentioned hit home. So Nate, could you share with us how long it took for you to write that letter and what went into writing it?
Yeah, honestly, it took a while. I took my time. When it was actually pretty much done, I sat on it for about 2 to 3 weeks. I just wanted to make sure that, I had some backstory and the facts were all correct, and the timeline was all good, and I had some good images to share to help get some awareness out. And as you said, it resonated with a lot of people. I think that just shows the current state of the game in the country. People are kind of looking for some light, looking for some type of optimism, because maybe people aren't so happy. So I think that's why I resonated with so many people. And Obviously, there were some good points that I made. Basically, as my career finished with Davao, I took some time away from the game, and I had a knee injury. So I had this moment where I wasn't really involved in football anymore, and I kind of had like a sour taste, people may say, or a bitter taste in my mouth with the game, which might be hard to believe for some people, but it was just the truth. It was difficult pill for me to swallow. But I took some time away. I traveled a lot, took care of I was looking after my family. My son was just born, and as my son grew, and I wanted to share with him the love that I once had for the game, and I enrolled him into the Kaya Football Academy. Then I started coaching again, and it's in these months, in these moments where the passion kind of started to reignite, and it's like, I had a lot of history here, and I need to be proud of this history. I need to be able to speak about this history. I need to be able to share this history because, you know, it can enlighten, it can inspire, and it can also educate people. I feel like my story can speak to a lot of people, not just here in the Philippines. So, that was kind of my basically that reason that whole letter started with me kind of coming to terms with not playing anymore, and as well as, um, you know, what to look forward to in the future with the game here.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned history. So you started your playing career in the Philippines in 2011, and you were 26 years old then, right? How was the experience trying out at the time?
Yeah, I was 26, which is quite old for any kind of football player to start playing his career. So, I spoke about my experiences with the Across the Line podcast, but coming into the Philippines in May 2011, I felt confident in my experiences, that I was ready for this moment, and it was all kind of leading to this moment. But also at the same time, I'm this 26-year-old nobody with no professional playing experience, no contract, no nothing. So I can remember even when I first met Coach Weiss, we were in Alabang. He's asking all the players, "What's your name? Where are you from? What do you play for?" And I lied. I told him I was 25. I'm 26. I told him I was 25. Like 1 year really makes a difference. But I was embarrassed really to be this 26-year-old player coming out here, and we had the likes of OJ Porteria, who was 16 or 17 at the time. All of the other kids trying out were young kids. So yeah, coming into the Philippines was I felt like prepared with my professional experience, but at the same time, I still felt like I have to prove myself, obviously, and I have to really take what I want, which was a spot and which was that experience.
You were the oldest one in the tryout?
There were two other players that were my age or a little bit older, guys by the name of Chad Gold and Lee Gunn, who are Azkal veterans. But everyone else was young, like teenagers or below 20, 25, as I was 26. So yeah, so that's a little funny story. But things worked out. I felt, like I said, I felt I was ready for that tryout because I had a lot of experience, and things worked out, and I was selected, and very fortunate and thankful for that opportunity. But it all came through just taking a leap of faith, basically, and putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Many times, many times, you put yourself out there. No matter how many times you fail, if you still have that desire and that passion, and the game will just call you. The game will call you. It will let you know if there's opportunities, and you just kind of have to take those opportunities, as they come.
Yeah. So you took a risk coming to the Philippines and leaving your job in the US to play here and living away from your family. Was playing in the Philippines something you've always planned to do? And what drove you to take the leap, and what gave you the confidence to pursue playing here and letting go of a lot of what you already had in the States?
Yeah, that's a good question, Simone. Like, I had two jobs. I was coaching Braddock Road Youth Club, which is a youth club that I played for back in Virginia, and I was coaching for a guy by the name of Hugo Fan, who actually coached my brother and I when we were younger. So those were my two jobs. Um, I think what drove me to take that leap of faith, obviously I had put myself out there several times before, and I was just kind of waiting for the opportunity again. And I had always been in touch with the Philippine national team. So when the opportunity finally came, I think even if I'm 35, I'm still going to take that risk. You know, like it's just one of those opportunities that you can't pass. And it was something that I had been ingrained in my head since 2004 when I was in junior college. So, you know, leaving the school and the teaching and the coaching and my family and friends, what was a challenge in itself, but at the same time, after all of those failed experiences, I felt like this had to have been the time. This had to have been the moment. So that kind of gave me that confidence going into that trip. Going into that trip, I can remember leaving the school and the coaching job twice for Bulgaria, you know, and that in itself was difficult to communicate because I was full-time teaching and full-time coaching, and you know they supported, but it was still a difficult thing to communicate. But when the Philippine opportunity came, you know, I think everyone kind of knew that, like, all right, this guy's been chasing his dream for this long. I think this is really going to be his chance. This is going to be his opportunity, which it just so happened to have been. I'm so thankful. But I think that's kind of the backstory on the history and the confidence that drove me into that taking that leap and taking that trip.
You shared with us that you had a goal list that you wrote back in 2009 or 2010. Do you actually have it now? Or could you share it with us?
Yeah, I have a piece of paper here. Like this
Nice.
is from 2010. I don't think you can see Philippines right there, right?
What does it say? Could you read it for us?
It's this was like 2009, 2010. I was just writing down my goals and things that I want to accomplish. And it says Philippines in February, question mark, how can I stay PFF or outreach with children? So this was obviously before I moved in May, but I guess I had been in touch by February. And I just think it's a good idea to set goals and write your goals down, whether they're large and grand or small. And I mean, this paper has been with me for 9, 10 years. You know, it's been sitting in my college notebook, and I look back on it from time to time and say, this is a goal that I can say that I checked off or that I was able to accomplish, and that's a good thing. And even if you can't accomplish those goals, it's still a good thing to look back and say this is where my head was at that moment in life. So yeah, it's funny that I still have this notebook, and goal orientation goal setting is huge, I think, you know, because I had this goal in mind. It's not like I just had to go 1 month, 2 months before I came. No, it had been there. It's been planted. So I've been constantly thinking about, constantly like visualizing and manifesting how things might work out.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious. I mean, how many goals did you list down there, and how many have you ticked off so far?
Well, on this specific paper, it was really just that Philippines, because that was the big thing, like getting to the Philippines and trying to play for the national team. As far as other goals, I have other goals on the paper that I didn't meet. You know, I have like goals and how many goals I might score for the local teams that I was playing for. I didn't meet those, but I also I see here I have a schedule on like Monday to Sunday, like what I'm going to be doing, coaching or playing, or how I'm going to train. So, you know, I was definitely motivated and organized on before I came in here. You know, it was something that really given a lot of thought and a lot of planning. And
Yeah. Actually, the biggest thing there was the fact that you made it to the Philippines and got to play for all those teams and even represented the country. So, in your letter, you talked about the importance of having a sustainable league and a system of football that works in the Philippine context, considering especially the fact that we're a developing country and that we're an archipelago. So, why do you highlight those two things?
well, basically, being a developing country, kind of speaks for itself. You know, we're still growing in terms of infrastructure, in terms of transportation, everything. We're a developing country, so we're still growing. So I pointed that out because there's a lot of people in the public who are so quick to say, why can't we be like this nation? Or why can't we be like that nation? But they also have to realize, number one, we're a developing country. Number two, we're an archipelago, which makes it even tougher because we're a group of islands, you know, thousands of islands, and you know, laying down plans is not as easy in a developed country, for example, in South America or other parts of Asia versus a country like the Philippines, where it's an archipelago, where it's so spread out and it's not so easy to, you know, communicate with everyone. So I pointed that out, and I know last my first podcast with Chris and Jing, I made a couple of references to the PBA, but I also want to make another reference to another Filipino sport that has been growing for years, and this is Philippine surfing. I don't know if you guys are aware, the Philippine surfing scene over the past few years has grown tremendously. They did really, really well in the Southeast Asian Games, and they even already created a tour, a Philippine surfing championship tour, which takes place all across the country. So I think, you know, I know why they're successful, and I think it can the Filipino community can learn a lot from what Philippine surfing has done, you know. And the reason why they were so successful is because the core group who initiated this tour are, you know, visionaries, and they all came together, most importantly, for the common goal to grow the sport in the proper way. You know, there's no politics, there's no greed. You know, they're all advocates of the sport, which is surfing, in different regions, but they all came together and, you know, put together this plan and this vision, and they all are working towards that goal. So I think this is something that the Philippine football community can learn from, you know, because obviously the state in the game is kind of question mark, and it's a time where we really need to come together and say, okay, what do we want Philippine football to look like? How do we want it to look for the next 10 years? And the only way we can do that is if we really come together and work together, as opposed to, you know, arguing or fighting with each other or trying to, you know, outscore or outnumber someone else, you know. So I just feel like, you know, we have a lot to learn, and we can definitely learn a lot from our previous history with Philippine football. But we also need to take on some different insight and look at what's working here in the Philippines. This is why I point out the PBA and Philippine surfing, because they're both local sports and they're both doing well. They're both growing, and they're both you know, local sports. So what can we take from those sports and you know, and bring to Philippine football?
Yeah, I totally agree, Nate. I mean, because the fact that we're in an archipelago, logistics also especially is very difficult. You know, how do you get teams to move from place to place, and to, especially now that we have a national league, it's quite expensive, right? Moving the teams from one city to the next just to play home and away games. So yeah, you didn't shy away from admitting that Philippine football has not progressed as much as you hoped for in the 9 years you've been in the country. Yeah. But you still sounded optimistic and hopeful in your letter. So what is it exactly about Philippine football that keeps you optimistic and hopeful?
Yeah, that's a good question, because, you know, if there are a lot of people who aren't so optimistic, and I guess these are just their personalities, or this is how they see things. But from my eyes, especially stepping back into the scene with coaching, the reason why I'm optimistic, one is the youth movement and the youth programs being instilled all over the country, not just with former players, but other players who have already been established. Um, and I've seen how the youth game is growing, the talent is growing. I've seen it firsthand, with leagues and tournaments, and this is part of my optimism. Also, there's also a lot of things that we can look at that are positive. For example, not only the Azkals and the national team, but what's happening with the recent national tournament, U15, and then the Coco Tour just told me it will be up until U17. So there are things that are happening that can make someone optimistic. Also, the reason also why I'm so optimistic also because I'm coaching as well. So I want to be, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer to the kids that I coach. I want to be optimistic for them and kind of let them know that there is opportunities for them. Obviously, I have my son now who, if he decides to get into football, that's another motivation to be optimistic. And, honestly, also it's, I just feel like the reason why I started to speak up lately is also like it's my duty. I have an obligation. Like the game gave me a lot here in the Philippines. So for me to not speak up and voice out voice my opinion and how I think I can help, it would be wrong if I didn't. And that's kind of why I feel like I should be speaking up because the game gave me so much. I can't be sitting in the corner or just surfing on a beach somewhere. I can do that, but I also need to be vocal and try and advocate.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Nate. Yeah, I really like thanks him for allowing our audience to grasp what Nate wrote in his letter, right? So one of the things that I liked about your letter, Nate, was one of the most resonating lines is the game of football is similar to the lessons in life. The game will give you everything that you put into it. It is vital for you to understand that you are responsible for your own development. I like that. And can you share or can you tell us more about why you wrote that line and what it means for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Any footballer would tell you that the lessons they're going to learn on the field can translate to real life. Right. So I also say that the game will give you everything you put into it because, there's players maybe who didn't make it, or there's players who did make it, who might have like a sour taste in their mouth and might say things say how they feel about the game. But I bet if you ask those people, did you give all that you could to the game? Were you able to say that? Because if you did, the ball is round, so whatever you put in is going to get back to you. So that's why I say these things. Just like in life, whatever you throw out, whatever you put out, it's going to come back to you. So just in football, like if you want to make it and if you want to play at a high level, you have to put that in. And the game can be fair in the most sense for that. In that respect is what I'm kind of referring to. Like it's rare you're gonna find people who put their heart all out and they're training their butts off and they're really putting themselves out there and things don't work out. It does happen, true, but the majority of the time is what I'm speaking about. And there's several lessons you're gonna learn from the game that are translate into life. Respect, humility, respect for the team, for the opponents, for yourself. So that's kind of what I was referring to. If that helps, or if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like what you said. So basically, you get what you give, right? And if it's any indication that on how you did with your career here, I guess it's really showed that you really gave a big contribution to the game here. So much so that it made you who you are right now, and your contribution locally has been immense. I'd also like to highlight in our previous discussion, you also mentioned that you had a major knee injury that was a big blow to your career at one point in time. So can you tell us more about that particular crisis?
Yeah, my first knee injury was my ACL. It was before I moved to the Philippines. So I graduated college and I was coaching and playing a lot and just really put myself out there. And I tore my ACL quite bad. And I was heartbroken. I felt here I am, fresh out of college. I'm still motivated to chase my dream, and I had been in touch with some possible opportunities, but the ACL came and I blew it out, and I can remember crying in the doctor's office. Just my head was down. I was out. But that injury brought me back stronger. I feel because obviously I was able to recover. It wasn't easy. It was very, very difficult. It was very, very painful because back then the ACL surgery was they open up your knee completely. They give you that. I have that long scar, like 2-3 inches. So they open up that knee. It's a long and painful recovery, but it's that injury is done for that surgery is done for a reason. Because it's one of the strongest. So I felt stronger after that injury. I took my time coming back, and I was able to overcome the mental challenges. I want to touch point on this book. It's a very good book for anyone listening. It's called The Champion's Mind. Okay, and it's a very good book for anyone, any elite athlete, or anyone dealing with any kind of injury. It basically, there's a section in the book where it says you treat your injury, you treat your therapy that you're going to receive from your injury as your new sport. So if you're injured, you're getting therapy. That therapy is your new sport. So you treat that as if it is your original sport, and you just attack it. You use that as motivation. It's a great book for anyone listening. I would definitely recommend it. I'm just trying to make sure I have the name. Oh, here it is on this side. Yeah, The Champion's Mind by Jim Aframo. Great book to read. Help with anyone with any kind of going with any kind of injury to really sit them down and kind of put some clarity into their head, to really trust the process and to be patient with your injury. That's the one thing I can say. I was so patient with that injury. I didn't rush coming back. I took over a year. I took my time coming back, and just really being patient and trusting the process that there is still a life after this injury. You move on, you grow, and things get better.
Yeah, I like what you said about trusting the process. But what I also like about what you said was the fact that you reframed the challenge. You know what I mean? So our listeners out there, we're faced with other challenges, like the pandemic is a current challenge right now. And by reframing and by focusing on how you could win in the new environment, I think it really does do wonders to pick yourself up from for the game, right? One of the things we discovered as well in our previous interview with you was how that you're an educator at heart. So one of the many passions that you have is in education. We found out that you're a teaching assistant in Washington. You were an intercity football coach back in the US, and now a youth football coach for the G8 Academy. So what would be your advice to parents who are interested in getting their children involved in their respective passions? And these children look up to influencers such as yourself or any of the other leaders in their respective fields in the country. What would you say to these people?
This is a good question. Just kind of touch point back on my education. So that school was in Northeast Washington, D.C. Okay, so this is inner city, basically all Black children, lower income, a lot of social problems. Okay, so this is where I was educating fourth graders. Okay, and then in the afternoon, I drive back to Virginia, and I'm coaching, the upper class, middle class income families. So it's a huge difference of the kids that I was educating on the field and also educating in the classroom. So one thing that I would promote or advise for the parents is to teach the children about acceptance, because the game is the world's game first and foremost. Football is not just in the Philippines; it's played all over the world. So you have to understand that. You have to understand that the game is a world's game. So every person in the world is playing this game. So you have to respect that for every player is playing, and then also to just let the children enjoy the game as much as they can, and from a coaching standpoint, I would say focus on the technical aspect of the game. You know, really spend time with the ball. You know, this is how the child is going to grow and love the game, because it's a child with the game. It's a child with the ball, not the parents. A lot of parents are wanting to get involved, and I see it myself here. You know, too much involved. Just as I was a teacher, or just as I am a parent, if I send my child off to school, I'm trusting that teacher. I'm trusting that institution. I'm trusting that school system to educate my child. Same thing when the parents drop their child off to a G8, anywhere, Kaya, Morocco, or not Morocco, but any youth academy that's out there. Everyone out there is qualified. They're there for a reason. So really, parents need to trust the coaches and the educators. And if the parents really feel so adamant about coaching, they themselves should get involved. Otherwise, just let the coaches, you know, handle what they're doing, and listen to your child. Most important, listen to your child, because they're the ones playing, not you. They're the ones, you know, they're the ones being invested, not yourself. Yes, it is your money. Maybe you're investing in them, but at the end of the day, it's their life. And just listen to them. They'll talk to you, and hopefully they'll be honest with you. And that's the advice I would give to any aspiring parent that's involved in football or any sport, really, you know, but particularly football, because
That's great, Nate. I mean, I totally agree with how your approach to coaching kids, and I wouldn't mind having my kids be under you just to get all that wisdom right there and all that values. But I want to shift back again and talk about your club career here in the Philippines, right? Basically, you've had a stellar professional career for about 7 years total, right? Playing for Kaya, Pachanga Diliman, Ceres, and then ending with Davao in 2018. But with Davao Aguilas, you actually mentioned in our last conversation that this was the most difficult time of your professional career. So share with us what it was like, going through that final playing year of yours.
Yeah. Thank you really for that question. It really was one of the most difficult moments in my life, definitely in my playing career. So basically, my contract with Ceres finished end of the year, and at this point, I'm honestly kind of already losing a little bit of passion, a little bit of joy, and this goes with people who maybe suffer from. I was suffering from an injury, wasn't really playing so much. So it's in that year where I really took up surfing when I was playing at Ceres. But towards the end of Ceres, my contract finished. I had instilled in my mind that I was going to purchase some land down in Siargao, which is what I did after the contract. After the contract finished, I saw things weren't going to renew, so I was like, all right, I'm going to go do what I want to do, purchase this land, and just kind of surf the year away, which is a good idea, but also not the smartest idea, because I wasn't really thinking about the future, So I went home for the holidays that December, and I came back in January. Like, all right, what am I gonna do? Like you just do what you know. So this was my mindset, and I really humbled myself, and I started trying out with teams. I went for an open tryout with Morocco, which was quite difficult. I can remember my girlfriend. She saw my worst side. Really, I had a breakdown. I'm like on the floor, like crying, like, I'm too old. My body is in too much pain. It was really in this moment where I really had to dig deep and grind it out. So after Morocco, things didn't really work out. Coach Aris at the time was taking his time as he just took over the club, and I needed to sign a contract because my girlfriend had just found out we were pregnant. So I needed some security. So after Morocco, I spoke with Chris and was trying to train with Kaya. Imagine my former history with Kaya. I went back to Kaya to try and get a contract with Kaya. And meanwhile, Ilocos and Davao were forming. So, the Kaya thing didn't really work out. So here's this new club in Ilocos, all the way up north, which was where they were going to be based. And my girlfriend, just couldn't bear the thought of me leaving. And it was a very difficult moment. and I actually had to leave. I left for a week. I went up to Ilocos and trained with them. It was in this moment where I just didn't feel right being away from her and being away from the child. And I looked through some old messages, and the Davao community was reaching out. Some former teammates of mine were reaching out, and it all happened so fast. I just got in touch with Davao, and next thing I know, I was able to come back and sign this contract with Davao. And fortunate, I was able to play my last few days, which was important for me because even though we weren't successful, at least I was on the field playing, and I had that passion, I had that fire, and whereas where I thought I was maybe out and out, but I still was able to come back and work. Really, that last contract with Davao, I would say, was probably the hardest contract that I had to get. Considering what I went through before signing that contract with Davao. But yeah, it worked out great, and I was on the field, I was playing, which is what you want to do as a player, as a football player. You just want to be playing.
Great. And I understand that you only played for a year, right? Because I think Davao dissolved, all these problems. Come to think of it, the Davao Agila squad was it's a powerhouse squad that could give Ceres a run for its money, right? And it's just sad that in the way it all ended with the owners and the players. It was just all sudden. I remember that time, and and what was that 2018, if I'm not mistaken?
2018 was when the team folded, but my stint with Davao ended in 2017, coming towards basically my last knee injury, which was a cartilage damage to my left knee, something that I have not been able to recover from. So this I referred to this earlier, but this was definitely a big pill for me to swallow. Being an active guy, being with my physical nature. My body won't do what it used to do. I can't run the way I used to. So this is why I was out of football for so long, Philippine football, because when my contract ended, or when my injury happened and I wasn't able to recover, that's why I had this sour taste in my mouth, because I wasn't playing the game anymore, but it wasn't because of my choice. It was because of my body, just basically saying it couldn't give anymore. You done all you could with your body, and then that's something that I had to accept, and I'm still accepting now, and I'm still healing with now. But it took a while. It took a long time for me to accept this, and I'm comfortable with it now. It's still something that I had to deal with, but it wasn't an easy time. It was definitely. It wasn't looking back. I always had this doctor that did my ACL, but I for some reason I didn't consult with him. I didn't consult with him because it wasn't a serious injury. It's a cartilage damage, so didn't really need like an invasive surgery. And I just kind of took the advice of the local doctors, and it is what it is. But that's just kind of how my career ended there in Davao. That was before things unfolded for them in 2018. But I was still supportive, and I was still trying to help them, and still trying to help in any way I could. But it's just so unfortunate that that's just how things ended, and that's football. That's life. You have to live with yourself. You have to live with these things. That's exactly what I did. It took time. It took time to heal, but I can look back and say, this is just how things work. This is how it was, and I'm not sulking in the corner anymore. I'm not in the dark. I'm out in the open, and I'm speaking about things, which is, I think, helpful. Honestly, it's helpful for me.
So right now it's still an ongoing process, right? And of course, I wanted to ask you a question about, when you decide to hang up your boots and everything. So, of course, all of us want that fairy tale ending, right? Just like how Jeter ended with the Yankees, or how Kobe ended his last game with the Lakers. And some just really are not that fortunate, and we're all, we all fall into that trap. But I think what would be interesting to our viewers is, how do you internalize all these things, right? I think because right now I think you're in great shape. You're positive mindset, and you're saying it's an ongoing process. So what should people know about it? I mean, things like this. How do they break out of this and say, I'm going to be all right?
Yeah, that's a good question, really, and it's not an easy answer, to be honest. As I said, it took me almost 2 years, and I had a child that I'm raising, so really football was in the back of my mind. Like, it was always there, but I wasn't really concerned about it. I didn't want to be concerned about it because I was preoccupied with raising my son and taking care of my family. But I guess, like with anything, time heals. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, opening up and speaking about it is a positive thing. Not shying away from it or running from it, because you have to face it. It's your reality every day, regardless of who you talk to. So you might as well open up to people who can share some insight or can help motivate you to get to where you should be. And I think that's kind of where I'm at now. It's just, I have this injury, it is what it is, but I'm not going to let it ruin my life or destroy, my future, keep me away from the game, or keep me away from coaching, or keep me away from doing other things like surfing, or continuing to try and, play pickup if I can. But, I would definitely say, like, before, patience and time. Give yourself time if you're dealing with any kind of major adversity like that, and to be open about it. Not talk with anyone, not talk with the whole world, but talk with people who you feel, can help you. And if you're not sure who might help you, then you can open up to the world, or open up to whomever might reach out to you. But definitely don't soak and hide, because it can be dark. It can be very dark. I was there. It was a very depressing moment for me. And people saw that I wasn't the same person. I lacked that fire. I lacked that passion. And that's how I've been my entire life. And it was a dark moment for me. And I think that was just a moment of healing, I guess. Maybe I could have healed differently, but that was just the path that I chose, or the path that chose me. Yeah, just know that you're not alone. You're not alone, anyone. You're not alone, all of us.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Especially,
yeah, let's not forget also the support of your family, and of course, you having a son and your supportive girlfriend. These are things that'll actually motivate you, and wake up every day and just say, it's time to just forge ahead and continue on with life, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's a good lesson to learn there. And you've talked about for the past half hour, all these colorful stories and life lessons, and but if you were to leave our fellow gold diggers out there with 3 important lessons, what would they be?
That's a good question. I've never been asked something like that before. I guess just going back on what we've talked about. Number 1 being, be patient and trust the process, no matter where you are in life, which stage you are in life. Just trust that things are happening for whatever reason they are, whether they're positive, whether they're negative, and just try to keep a positive mind. So definitely, like, trust the process, and believe in yourself, because me getting to the Philippines all happened because I believed in myself. There were people who helped me, or who helped me believe in myself. There were also people who doubted me, but at the end of the day, it came down to me believing in myself and my capability, conquering that dream. Because at the end of the day, it's just you that wants to achieve that. It's no one else can take that from you. So believe in yourself, trust the process, be patient, as well as believing in yourself. You're never too old or too young to dream. As I said, I was 26. It's quite old. I'm still dreaming now with other dreams. So you're never too young or too old to dream. And I think the last lesson maybe is through passion and through grit, you can really accomplish things. Everything that went through me, aside from the dreaming and the patience, it has to come down to hard work and the grind. If you're just willing to dream and not willing to put in the sacrifices and the grind and the grit, you're not going to accomplish anything. I might be all over the place, but those are 3 things I think that we can maybe take away from my life journey and my life lessons.
Thanks, Nate. I mean, those are really inspiring words of wisdom, without a doubt. Of course, to summarize what he said, ladies and gentlemen, 3 tips that you must always place in your heart, especially if you want to succeed in your life. Number 1, believe in yourself. Number 2, trust the process. And number 3, have that grit or perseverance to reach those dreams. So, now we're about to end the show, and we want to end on a lighter tone. So this segment, of course, Nate, you're very familiar with this, as well as everyone else, is none other than Crunch Time. So, how does Crunch Time work? Well, simple, Nate. I'm just going to ask you some very short questions, and you're going to give me some short responses. But you're not going to explain those responses unless if I ask you to do so. All right? Nate, you ready?
I think I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, let's go. Okay. First question. Protein or carbs?
Protein or carbs? Carbs.
All right, carbs. Okay. Wow, you really thought about that answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Heavy metal or smooth jazz music?
Smooth jazz.
Okay, all right. Next. Team leader or highly skilled player?
Are these questions pertaining to me or just give an answer?
Give an answer.
Just give an answer. Yeah, just give an answer.
Team leader. Everyone needs a team leader.
Team leader. All right. Next.
Yeah.
Are you a morning person or a night person?
Well, that's a trick question because the night can lead to the early morning. let's go with a night person because we're in nighttime right now. Let's go with night person.
All right, night. Okay, next. These are all related questions, so I hope these will ease the burden from you. Okay, so again, step over or roulette?
Step over.
Step over. Okay. Midfielder or forward?
Forward.
Forward. All right.
Definitely.
Okay. Scoring from the halfway line or scoring against 7 defenders?
This is tough. 7 defenders. Yeah, 7 defenders sounds fun.
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually really difficult, you know? Okay, next. Would you
Yeah.
prefer teaching fundamentals or teaching tactics?
It really depends on the age group, but I'm going to go with the fundamentals. I'm going to go with the fundamentals.
All right, fundamentals. Okay, last but
Yeah.
not the least, okay? Playing in a high-quality pitch with a small audience or playing in a dilapidated pitch in front of a large crowd?
I'm going to go with the large pitch, large crowd in a poor pitch. Because I've been a part of that. So you want that atmosphere. Even a good player is going to play on any good field. So players want that crowd. They want that excitement. And a good player will play on any ground. Good player will play on any ground.
All right, so how about you, Simone, Relly, and Robbie? Is there anyone else who likes to add up with these questions?
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Barca or Real?
Barcelona.
Guess that's it.
All right, that's it. So
The 1 minute is up. The 1 minute is up.
1 minute is up.
I had a couple.
all right, so we're about to end today's session, and I believe we do have some closing remarks. Relly, Simone, Robbie, you know what to do. Take it away.
Well, first of all, thanks to Nate, for being our first guest, right? And this is a historical moment right here. It'll go down in history, and we'd like to invite the viewers to tune in next Saturday when you have another special guest in Anton Del Rosario, Maharlika FC owner, and the ones in the movers and shakers of the Sevens Football League. So. It would be interesting to catch up with him and find out what his goal digging strategies are. And if you want to send your questions for Anton, you can email us at goaldiggersph@gmail.com or, follow us on our FB page, the Gold Diggers PH. Sim.
Yeah, I'd like to make a shout out to everyone there. So, hey teammates, thanks for listening in today. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. We'd like to thank those who have liked and followed the Gold Diggers PH Facebook page. We are looking forward to having you guys dig in with us in our upcoming episodes. And hey, to those listening in from the Philippine football community, and shout out to the Philippine football podcasts and shows out there. Coach Aris TV, Coach Mike TV, Football Live TV, Across the Line, For the Win, and Pinay Football's hashtag Grow Her Game. And though we're not a football podcast, we've been learning from what you guys have been doing. So thank you for paving the way. We'd also like to give a special shout out to Jiggy Cruz of the podcast Jiggy's Geek Speak, and Chicky Reyes of Sports Locked and Loaded for taking the time to give us tips on how we can make the show better for you guys. And we really appreciate it. So, and of course, to Rick Olivares, who encouraged us to do this podcast and has been mentoring us through and beyond our journalism class. So now I'll hand you guys over to Mr. RDV, Robbie.
Thanks, Tim. So last but not the least, so we hope you stay tuned because we're going to be launching our passion project as well. It's called Pitch in PH. So it's our effort to help out the sports people who were affected by the pandemic. So more details to come soon. Stay tuned in our podcast and then check out our Facebook page as well. Carlos?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that wraps everything up. So remember to dream, dig in, and win. See you next time when we go live on our next episode. Once again, I'm Carlos Pineda, and this is Gold Diggers.